A politician, first and foremost. He's a British-trained international trade law specialist and an associate member of the London-based Chartered Institute of Arbitrators. The multilingual Senator Blackman was the ambassador and permanent representative to the United Nations and other organizations in Geneva. In his formative years, he was a past president of the League of Young Socialists, where he was fully exposed to politics. In 2018, and then again in 2022, he managed the campaign for the Honorable Charles Griffith in St. John and successfully brought home that seat on both occasions. In January of 2022, the then ambassador was called home to take up the portfolio of minister in the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Investments, as well as a seat in the Senate. Having given you only but a short glimpse of his illustrious career, I have opted to leave the best for last. The Honorable Chad Blackman is also a graduate of that university on the Hill in Christchurch. He's a graduate of Foundation School. Here. We have two of them right here. Yeah. So with that, and with any further ado, I bring to you Senator the Honorable Chad Blackman.
Firstly, let me thank you for such a very humbling and warm introduction. But protocol, of course, to be observed, but I certainly have to acknowledge again, Member of Parliament, the Honorable MP Bradshaw and Deputy Prime Minister of Barbados, executive members of the branch of St. Michael Southeast, comrades all, ladies and gentlemen, both here and online. It is certainly very good, first of all, to be back home in Barbados. And even more so, to be amongst the family of the Labour Party. You know, every time I'm amongst the family, I feel excited. Whether it is an election season or not, there's a feeling of being amongst the Labour Party that only Labour Party people can understand. But equally, there's room on board. So those of you watching online, now is the time to come home to the Labour Party family. But more importantly, this evening, I want to discuss a number of things with you. But it would be remiss of me to start my speech and discussion with you in St. Michael Southeast without really giving reverence and due to the Member of Parliament's dad. A stalwart in this party, and who, in my view, and the MP has shared it with me a few times in cabinet now, has become my unofficial mentor. And Brady, I love you. And God bless you for what you've done for this constituency and for this country. And forever we must salute you as is not only a stalwart of the Labour Party and this constituency, but a titan in Barbadian politics. And so that whenever history is reflected upon, your name shall always be there in our politics. And for that, I salute you. But this evening, I have a few things. So I said, normally I just speak out of my head without any paper, but I said it is too important for me not to make a few points that I really want to treat to you this evening. You have, and we're going to start locally, and we're going to go globally and come back locally again. You have in your MP, Santia, who, as she is known and should be known as the Lioness of St. Michael Southeast. Rightfully so. And I feel even better that she went Foundation too. But in all seriousness, somebody who does not take no for an answer. Someone who is prepared to go against the grain. Someone who is not prepared to stand up and fight for the people of St. Michael southeast, no matter what. That is what you have in your MP. As Saiti is saying, you all know. But she's not only doing it for the members of this constituency, she's doing it on a national level. And I'm so proud. I come back today, makes 4 weeks that I've now moved back home from Geneva. And where you go across Barbados, what you're seeing now, roads being fixed. And I want to salute you, Santia, for the work that you're doing to ensure that people in Barbados can drive on good roads. We take it for granted. But can you imagine Santia is doing this in a time when the economy is starting to grow? But if we had to go back between 2008 and 2018, can you imagine if they had left a wicket for us to bat on, where roads were being done during that period? What Santia will be able to do now? We will be now moving on to flyovers. But now we have to go back and do things that were not done in a circumstance where the country is in need. And I want you to think about it very carefully. Roads are not just only about driving on them and not having to, as I said, drive in potholes. There's an economic good to ensuring that you have a functioning road system that you can drive on. Why? Productivity is impacted if you don't have a situation where people can go to and fro in a timely and efficient manner. And therefore what Santia and her ministry is doing is really setting up the foundation for the takeoff of our economy. You should be able to time how you get from Christchurch to St. Lucie in a given time and in a quality time, and ensuring that you can plan your business. This is what we are doing. So the Mill and Pave program is an excellent thing that her ministry is doing. And your MP is holding down the fort to ensure that we are doing that. So again, she must be given public recognition for what she's doing. But this evening I want to touch on a few things relative to the economy and investment, and also what I want to call the domestic economy. How many of you last week would have been watching the central bank report where the governor was delivered? We now are in a situation where Barbados, between January and September last year, the first 9 months of the year, enjoyed a growth level of 4.4%. And I want you to remember that number, so when you go in the shops, you go in the churches, you go in the bars, wherever, that you understand what is happening. And you may ask, okay, why 4.4% is a good thing? It means, therefore, that the economy is growing in a way that we can now build out to provide jobs for people. There's money to spend to fix roads, to ensure that the hospital can function. There are different things that you have to do in the economy, so there is no growth. In other words, the economy is now getting larger and larger. But it's not just about larger and larger for numbers' sake. It is about ensuring that people can have a quality of life. And it goes back to the root of our philosophy in the party, creating a better life for our people. So therefore, those things matter. The economy matters. And it must be said, kudos to Prime Minister Motley for being at the helm and being able to deliver that. Because if you remember, we are now enjoying 4.4% growth. And under the Dems between 2008 and 2018, downgrade after downgrade after downgrade. You now have a situation between, as I said, January last year and September last year. We've enjoyed 10 consecutive quarters of growth in the economy. Now, we're at 11. And I suspect we're going on to 12. So you start to see really now the economy is starting to rebound. And not only is it 4.4%, it is the highest level of growth that we've enjoyed since 2006. 2006. So I want you to understand. In other words, the last time we enjoyed this sort of growth is when Owen was Prime Minister. And now we have Mia Motley at the helm now, punching and punching and punching and taking it to the next level. So it therefore means you have the facts, and the facts speak for themselves, that they cannot tell you that between 2008 and 2018 that they did anything of significance for the economy. And we all know whenever the Labour Party is in office, the economy grows. People have money in their pocket. These are facts. I am making it up. So we have to ensure that our people are armed with this information. But I want to go further. We now have a situation where the debt to GDP ratio has come down from 120% to 115% from the same period the year before. So in other words, on all areas and indicators, we're starting to see the economy grow and perform. Barbados is about to take off. And this is a significant achievement for a government that had to grapple with COVID, as we know. And you will see me throughout this intervention this evening making comparisons between 2008 and 18 and now. When the Dems were in office, do you remember? Every single time the excuse was the global financial crisis. The global financial crisis. And for 10 years, even after the crisis finished, after year 2, so by 2010, everything is the global financial crisis. Well, let us remember that there is nothing within the last 110 years as significant of a detrimental impact as COVID-19. And can you imagine we have an economy growing at 4.4% after because this is 2023 figures. So after 3 years of COVID, the worst external shock ever, the Labour Party, under the leadership of Prime Minister Motley, of which Santa is a part of her cabinet and team, is now enjoying 4.4% growth. So it therefore means that the Labour Party is going to work every day to ensure that the economy is working for the benefit of the people. Are there challenges? Yes. We don't live in isolation. We're a small, open economy in a global market. So you have to navigate the waters to ensure that your people are protected. But what you do is that you ensure that your policies are aligned with macroeconomic policies and sense. You don't become reckless at the wheel. And that is the testament of the Labour Party over the last number of years since we've come to office. But I don't stop there. When you look at reserves, right now, we are at $2.9 billion in foreign reserves. 2.9 billion, not million, billion, which is the equivalent of 30.3 weeks of import cover. So we have over half of a year of import cover in the economy right now. Again, coming after COVID. Let's pause and reason for a bit. Can you imagine if COVID did not happen in 2020? We would have been a lot further. But the point I'm making is that the policies of the government and the Labour Party have been able to make impact that we can now start to, as the Prime Minister said, before was a stabilization exercise. After we came to office, you had to treat the patient, and now the patient is getting up and walking. And not only walking, he started to walk around the office and stretching his muscles. Because why? The next step is to walk out the hospital so that we can start to run and move again. And that is where we are with things of the economy. And you have to clap for that, because why? It is not easy. And I can tell you, when you look at the economic report, the governor made it very clear that the economy is not just growing in tourism, of course, which was the leader, but he said, and I was very proud as a Barbadian, that the economy is now growing in all areas of the economy. So all sectors are now starting to kick up and work. So whether it be tourism, whether it be agriculture, manufacturing, business, all of these areas are now working for the economy. But here's an opportunity, and I want to localize it as well. It is all well and good for us to have excellent economic development at the national level and macro level. But there is an opportunity in every constituency, and I think, Santi, you having St. Michael South East, you have an advantage that many other constituencies don't have. This constituency, in my view, has the right ingredients to become a powerful subset of our national economy, and I'll tell you why. Where I just came from, the ILO, when I was working there was a study which showed that jobs of the future are going to be in areas of sport, and not just the traditional sporting, going on the field or going on a court, but the other areas in the ecosystem of sporting, whether it be the management, the therapy, the different areas of sporting exercise. You have pylons, football club, basketball. We now have to reimagine what that means for Barbados' economy. And perhaps the time has now come where we have to now look at the sports economy and do the numbers and put these figures to it to see how do those teams at the local level not only tap into the national level, but become players in their own right and an ecosystem that can tap in to sports around the world. And building the relationships, not just in North America, but the opportunities in Africa. So for example, there's nothing stopping us in Barbados from having our local football teams to go to Africa into their domestic setup and exposing our young players to high-level football and inward to Barbados as well. Same thing with basketball. You have Pinelands Creative Workshop, which was a nucleus in this constituency and in Barbados. And the creative economy presents an immense opportunity for our young people to grow. And therefore, how do you remeasure at the base of the economy all of those non-traditional areas? Because why? Sugar was king years ago, and we had to move into tourism. But we all saw what 2020 was with COVID and the impact of tourism. We have to ensure that we have diverse areas of growth in our economy. And we have to ensure that we create policies in an environment that the God-given ability of young people, that is harnessed, that they can tap into. One, ensuring a quality life for themselves and their families, but two, creating an environment that you can create a third or fourth limb of the economy, exporting services and talent. That is where we can go. And I want to offer my commitment in ensuring that we can tap into the talent that you have here in this constituency, and of course across Barbados, to help young people to reimagine what life can be. It's not only about, going to university and becoming a lawyer or doctor, nothing wrong with that. But there are things that we have to do to unleash and unlock. And I see also my role in the context of the Ministry of Economic Affairs to ensure that young people, not just young people, people across the board, can unlock their potential through economic development and showing them how they can do so in a sustained manner and fashion. But if you also look at the report, the governor made it very clear that in order for us to further grow, investment is going to be key, foreign investment in particular. And I can tell you that through Invest Barbados, that the country is going to go after in a significant and strategic way investment, not just from our traditional partners in North America and in Europe, but also in Africa, in Asia, and the Arab states around the world, just to name a few. And I'll tell you why. There's a lot of untapped economic activity that we've not traditionally tapped into. But credit must be given to the Prime Minister that since she's come to office, she's taken the country and the government in a direction of building out our relationship with our motherland. You only saw last week, for example, just to name one, President Macky Sall, who was here in Barbados, developing the ties and relationships between Barbados and Senegal. And what does that mean in real terms for the young man or young woman in St. Michael Southeast? It means that the government is working on your behalf, that if you have a business, for example, in music, if you are an excellent singer or dramatist, or if you are looking to export your goods and services, whether it is in high-level, nail tech, etc., you now have a market that we're trying to forge ties as well, that you can go and play your trade there. So I don't only want you to see yourself operating in the market of Barbados. Of course, we have the CARICOM, single market and economy. But we now have to reposition our people to think broad, globally, to tap in. Because what it does, yes, it gives you legitimate income, but it also brings foreign reserves back into the country. And this we must now expose our young people to, that the world is yours. And let St. Michael South be, of course, be your anchor. But these are the sorts of things that we have to now build out for them. Because why? This economy is for everybody. And Barbados, as a country, is too small for us to not ensure that we create policies to ensure that we can uplift. It goes back to Grantley Adams' philosophy. I remember last year when I gave the Grantley Adams Memorial Lecture. Thank you. When I gave the Grantley Adams Memorial Lecture and reflecting on his philosophy and why the Labour Party was created, it was created in circumstances where there was a lot of hardship and we needed to ensure that people can live a quality life. And you had to struggle, you had to contend with the forces of the day, sometimes domestic, others external, but he had a clarion vision of where we needed to go. And we must never leave anybody behind. And that's why I'm so proud to be part of a party that ensures that people can put bread on their table, people can ensure that they have a high quality of life, people can ensure that they have certainty on planning their affairs. And this is not just a party of focusing on the economy, this is a party that focuses also on the social dimensions of development. And also when you look at the situation relative to where we want to take young entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship must not only be seen relative to just small business. We must be able to take a small business in year one and see its progress through the right systems into a medium-sized company. taking that medium-sized company and taking it into a larger company. So that as that company grows, the community around it grows, and the persons are contributing in a significant way to national development. That is the Labour Party way. Now, when you look at that, you have to also look at the broader reality. As I said at the beginning, Barbados does not live in a bubble. But sometimes when there are challenges that are external to you, but yet impact on your daily existence as a country and impacting people on the ground, as it were, you sometimes have to go to the root cause. And this is why I love Prime Minister Motley. And I'll explain to you why. A lot of the challenges that we face as a nation, not just Barbados, small states around the world, particularly in the developing world, a lot of the things that we face are challenges that are not of our making, whether it be climate change, whether it be areas of fiscal space, who determines what access we have to concessional finance, necessary finance that we can develop. And I was proud when I think it was 3-4 years ago, when she had the vision and the idea to go to the root cause of the global economic structure and the space which would determine development and trade, which impacts everything that we do. And therefore, she saw the need to host UNCTAD 15. And she therefore became president of UNCTAD on the global stage. So you might ask, but what's the point of all this global thing and global that? Thank you, Saiti. The point is that when you go at the global stage and you're at the table, you help to shape and determine the rules that affect your people back home. Because if you're not at the global table, you can talk what you like. You got to take what they give. And she strategically has positioned not just herself as Prime Minister, but our country, I can tell you, at the center of the table, shaping global politics and decision-making that affects the people of St. Michael's Southeast. But she's gone further. We all know the impact of inflation, the price of goods. It affects everything that we do. And Barbados is a small, open economy. Most of our prices and the inflation are externally driven. And therefore, using the same model, you go to the root cause. A lot of, not just about, in terms of what's causing the external inflations to come, it's not just the increase in commodity prices, it is also the issue of supply chain. So you have a big supply chain issue. And what do I mean? Sometimes when you can't have access to certain goods, or the routes are being blocked, for example, in the Panama Canal, which we know Barbadians went and contributed in its development, the climate change is impacting the water level right now, and it is dropping. And those large ships, instead of, let's say, some going through, maybe, 1,000 a day, because of the low levels of water, we now then reduce, let's say, to 20, just using an example, per day. What does that mean for trade and the cost of goods? Those goods now take longer to get to their destination, so the price, therefore, automatically go up. So you're then going to feel it in the supermarket when you're going to Popular. You can say, but why are these things so expensive? Because why? Those things are impacting trade. Those things are impacting your ability when you go into the supermarket and buy your goods or buy your vehicles or whatever. So therefore, what do? You go to the source of the thing. So from the 21st to the 24th of May this year, following in her previous model, the Global Supply Chain Forum will be held in Barbados by UNCTAD, and Prime Minister Motley is the host of that. Where she's bringing all of, and I repeat, she's bringing all of the major global players around the world, not just the UN, but also those in the business sector, who are part and parcel of the architecture that helps shape the issues relative to the global supply chain here in Little Bim. You see what I'm saying? This is the vision of and the spirit of Grantley Adams flowing through Prime Minister Motley's veins. So that when you hear people saying, but what they're traveling for, that is why. They're not traveling to get into mischief. You understand? You see the parallel? People have at the helm a leader who understands the global politics and the link to the small man, as it were, on the ground. And that is why the Labour Party continues to champion these issues on behalf of our country. And that is what, in my view, you call leadership. But leadership sometimes, or the thought and the notion of leadership excites people in ways that lead them to mischief. And therefore, we have a situation where people are sometimes parading as leaders. And oh, but could the dipper get back up? If the dipper could get out the Caribbean Sea right now, he would have come up and asked, what's going on about here? Why you my name on this building here? Because why? That was not part and parcel of what he wanted. Imagine, you had a man, a great man who founded an institution, and part of his legacy said, before he closed his eyes, I don't want my name anywhere on any building. It is not for me, it's for the people. And you have a situation where, as I said, people want to be leaders. People hear about the concept of leaders and leadership. You know, there's a saying where it says, some are called, some are sent, but others get up and went. You understand? And you have a situation where I'm told yesterday, you have a shadow prime minister appointing a shadow minister in a shadow ministry, in a shadow something that has no portfolio. Poor Rashid. You understand? Bare shadows. You know, you know, there was a movie once called Dark Shadows. You remember that? Yes, exactly. Collins. And you know, have a situation where, for example, Ryan Walters, who was at the front line of fighting for the Dems after the first massive defeat in 2018, and even after, he didn't get called in the shadow of the shadows yesterday. The guy from St. Andrew, help me, what's his name? Marshall, is it? Yeah, but yeah, exactly, I think he was ran against Rommel. Those guys who were in the trenches on behalf of the Dems, where are they? Even Kadir, oh, Verla, not there. You see my point? You have to, and this is why I love the Labour Party so much, even if there are persons who oppose you in different positions internally. When it comes to governance, there's a maturity in the Labour Party where leadership matters most, and we put our personal differences aside, and we govern in the interest of who? Not ourselves, but the global collective. And you don't have that situation where there's a lot of things happening there. It is not my business to talk about. And what he did yesterday does not help them to unite at all, but we will stand and we will watch. You understand? As I said, the dipper can't get back up, but I know if he could get back up, he couldn't stand out there. You understand? But the point I'm making is this. We have a country that we can and we must be proud to call our country. We have immense challenges around the world that impact our ability to thrive. I've named a few. But equally, we have a number of opportunities that if we band together, particularly given the right ingredients that we have as a nation that continues as, you know, it's now become a cliche, but important nonetheless, continue to punch above its weight. We can become a world-class, powerful nation as long as we put our mind to do it. And you must continue to give your member of parliament the support. You must continue to give the Prime Minister the support. And not just for giving its sake, because they've been proven and tested that every time you've given them the opportunity to lead, you have something that you can see that is palatable and acceptable for consumption. And therefore, we must continue to rally behind Prime Minister Morley and Santia. I'm honored to serve with you in cabinet. I'm humble on the wisdom and counsel that you've given me so far. Because one of the things is you must never be too big. Yes, I'm a tall, big guy, so I don't mean literally. But you must never be too big to take advice. And people who've walked the path before you. And this is a message, I've said it in the Grand Island speech, and I'll say it now. Public life requires us to remain humble. There's a saying which says, if you exalt yourself, I will humble you. This is not Chad Blackman words, it's God. But if you humble yourself, I will exalt you. And therefore, that must be part and parcel of who we are and continue to be in the Labour Party. So I want to, in simple closing, comrades, ladies and gentlemen, to encourage us all to rally around not just the leader, but your MP here in South East. But equally, ask yourself, what are some of the opportunities that I can tap into in this booming economy that is really, really about to take off? What are the opportunities, not just in St. Michael, South East and Barbados, but across CARICOM? Take up your phone. You got phones now. Go online, opportunities in Africa. Pick one. See what you have that you can tap into, and don't do it yourself. Call somebody in the gap and say, you know what, I see this thing, you want to partner with me on a business? Pick up the phone and say, call Sandy and say, look, Sandy, there's this thing, how can we tap into XYZ? Sandy will then pick up the phone and call a ministry, foreign trade, foreign affairs, economic affairs. There are these young people in Southeast who want to do this. How can we help them? And that is how we will transform a nation, building on Adams's legacy. You understand? So therefore, let us roll up our sleeves. Let us continue to give the support to the party and ensure that Barbados can be a place that is proud for all of us. And I want to wish you a fantastic evening and a prosperous and blessed 2024. And I believe that this time so next year will be, maybe, who knows, don't quote me, 5.5% in the growth. Once you do your part, all right? So God bless you, and to the branch and Santia, thank you very much. And Brady, once again, I love you, comrade. Love you very much. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Honourable Senator Chad Blackman. I was eagerly waiting that presentation, and it was well delivered. I'm sure many will engage you further conversation throughout the evening. All right, it's about that time. I'm sure you're well anxious, and it is my honor. I'm not going to have a long or a lengthy introduction because he needs none, but I'd like to welcome the Deputy Prime Minister, the Minister, the Honourable MP Bradshaw, our MP for the constituency, and she will take the stage now.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is a good and pleasant evening in this presence of all of my Labour Party supporters and also all of the persons who are watching online. I see a number of people who are from across the length and breadth of the country, but also across the length and breadth of St. Michael, South East. And for that, I'm proud this evening. I'm happy to see my colleague responsible for a major part of this country's development, the Honourable Minister, Senior Minister William Duguid. And I'm particularly pleased to come after Senator Chad Blackman, who delivered a presentation this evening which was easy to understand, packed with all of the information that contextualized how difficult the journey has been for the Labour Party since 2018, but did it in such a way that the average person could connect with why we have been on this journey, what we have been doing, and essentially what the road ahead looks like for each and every Barbadian. And I want to say a special thank you to you, Chad. This is your first address to the St. Michael South East branch, but I believe, yes, I believe and welcome back home as well. It is also, I think, the first opportunity or the first branch that has actually invited you since you have returned. And you know, I benefited in this party from being a young person who former Prime Minister Owen Arthur took under his wing. I've also benefited from the Honourable Prime Minister Mia Motley as well, allowing me to take up various roles within the Barbados Labour Party. And I strongly believe it is my responsibility as well to not only mentor, but to share with persons like Chad, and others as they enter public life, because it's easy to be an ambassador, to be a diplomat. But you know, when you make the transition into the senatorial position, and I hope at some point into a representative constituency representative position as well, I am hopeful. Should I pause? I am hopeful that at that point, St. Michael Southeast constituency, but whatever the Barbados Labour Party determines will be the constituency for which he has to. Chad, that just as my father and your grandfather, Burton Hines, who was a former Speaker of the House of Assembly, shared a very close relationship. Dad would say, you know, to him, he was senior to him. He would bring him into his office at Parliament, and he would share with him, obviously, perspective. But I give you the assurance that I am here always to be able to work with you and to guide you as well. I want this evening, though, the macroeconomic issues, which again touch the across the length and breadth of Barbados. You're perfectly correct. Prime Minister has given me $30 million, and my position, quite frankly, is give me the money and watch me. Because I intend to spend the money on the roads that I have been given to spend. Because Roadworks program has allowed us to be able to start a program to bring that relief to people. I've started in the north of the island because traditionally, you know, there has been a tendency to ignore the rural parishes. I have felt that, like most people in the north of the island, that we needed to show some love to the north. And we started from the tip of the island in St. Lucie, and we've been working through all the areas, highway to way, all of the arteries that are leading to the west coast. We've started to address the issues in St. Thomas, which I know my colleague MP Cynthia Ford is exceedingly pleased that we have now been able to target the Cane Garden to Bridgefield areas. We've been able to target the Shop Hill to Content and a number of other areas that were neglected in large measure by the previous administration, and certainly we're in dire need of repair. I see y'all are having some technical difficulties, no? You're good. Okay, good. I'm not hearing it on here, though. Yeah, okay, that's fine. All right, so as I said, we've started the program. I know that people want everything to happen overnight, but as Chad said earlier, the reality is that we had almost 10 years where nothing happened in terms of road infrastructure in this country. Actually, it wasn't just road infrastructure, it was everything else that wasn't happening. And we have had to come to office with policies that maybe sometimes people don't always understand up front, but we've had to basically build out an infrastructure to be able to now take advantage to see the growth taking place across the country. Now, roads, as Tad said, they connect people. They open up economic opportunities. The administration in the early stages took the view that it had to seek low-interest financing to be able to build out the rural areas, in particular the Scotland district. And we were able to speak with the Chinese, the People's Republic of China. We were able to get low-interest financing to be able to start a project to repair our bridges and to repair a number of the roads. Now, the thing about it is I always speak about patience, and perhaps I speak about patience from a perspective that people may not understand. I had to learn patience when I was going through my treatment. I had to understand patients in the context that you want to get back on your feet, but the doctor's telling you got to do this and you got to do that, and you have to go through a particular process. So as much as I wanted what I wanted, I also equally understood that there was a level of patience that I had to exert in getting to the destination. So when I say people need to be patient, it is simply to say, let us pause sometimes and understand not only where we want to go, but understand very clinically how it is that we're going to get to the destination that we want to get to. And it is important that people understand that while everybody wants to be a technical expert as it relates to roads, I have to be guided by the technical people. So there are some roads in the Mill and Pave program, for instance, and all of the roads, for instance, that we have said these are roads that are easy to do. These are roads that you don't have to break out utilities, you don't have to replace mains. These are roads that are easy. You take off the top layer and you're able to do your paving immediately after. There are other roads, however, that are a little more complicated. So many of you drive on the South Coast, the Highway 1, Highway 7, and on the West Coast. Highway 1 is on the West Coast. Highway 7 is the South Coast area. And again, those roads require a different type of focus, because you have to look at drainage, you got to look at the sidewalks, you have to ensure, in particular on the South Coast, that you're able to deal with the South Coast sewage project, which is going to come on stream shortly as well. So there are some roads that, while everybody has a checklist of what they would like to see us do and to prioritize, I want to assure you this evening that it is not escaping certainly myself or anybody in the ministry as to what those priorities have to be. What we have focused on is making sure that we can get the roads that are what I consider the roads that the people drive on, that they spend the most time on a day. Because I'm of the view that if we can ease the pressure on those particular roads by way of the potholes and the Mill and Pave, that allows people again to recognize that things are happening. So you're seeing a transition taking place. And I really want to take the opportunity to thank the contractors, because Prime Minister Motley sat in a meeting with us and told them straight they got to work around the clock, within the labor laws, of course. But she told them they got to work 18-hour days in order to get this work accelerated. And they have been, again, putting their foot to the plow. They have been trying to ensure that we are able to not only start, but to complete those roads. So I want to say a special thank you to them and to all of the hardworking staff that have been contributing. Now, I hear the noises too, Chad. I hear the noises on the other side. And I understand noise very well, because if I were them and I get licks for 2 consecutive elections, I would try to make, molehills and mountains out of molehills, because I would be telling myself that I would also be trying to be critical of the roadworks program, and I would even go so far in some cases to go and make up things, because sometimes when we go to the sites where they are talking about, a lot of the things that they are complaining about has been magnified. There's an explanation as to why roadworks may have stalled or a bridge may have stopped. And in many cases, it is often too because of the weather. You can't build roads when it is raining. And the reason we've been able to do a lot of the works now is because we have been preparing in the wet season for what we have been able to start since the beginning of this year. And that is the intention, to be able to continue the roadworks program over the course of the next few months. Of course, that is weather permitting, because I wake up some mornings and I see a rainfall very sudden across the country, and I too get a little nervous every time the rain falls. But I start there because I think it is important in the context of our discussion this evening for people to understand that the Labour Party is working. I saw the article this morning with Senior Minister Duguid speaking about all of the infrastructure projects, which again, we've talked about infrastructure projects for the time we've come to office, but we also had a pandemic that we had to deal with. And we had resources that had to be shifted to save lives. People forget that we built out a whole hospital that was overrun with bush in a matter of weeks. And we did so because we understood that we had to preserve the lives of Barbadians, that we had to, in the wake of a pandemic, we had to put the country in a position where we put the resources that we had to good use and to make sure that we could save people's lives. Many people will remember the care packages. And that was a nightmare for me. I'm a senior minister. I get cursed left, right, and center in cabinet by colleagues because we had the Barbados Defense Force handing out these hampers, and some people felt that they didn't get enough hampers in their area. But that was a task that the Barbados government, the Barbados Labour Party undertook, because we understood that we are a small country, and you have to hold people sometimes where they are in order to prevent instability and unrest in our small island as well. We have continued to build out all of these projects. A lot of this stuff is coming on stream. Senior Minister has the responsibility for planning and for infrastructure to ensure that a lot of the bottlenecks that have stopped a lot of these projects from taking place under the last administration have had a little ease. The people are getting now a little breathing space, and they're getting their permissions a little bit easier. And so I want to, again, salute the Honourable Minister, because, again, he's part of my cabinet. He's working as a team. We work together very closely. He was the former minister responsible for the ministry I am responsible for. And we work as a team. And I can tell you that on this team of the Barbados Labour Party, persons like Chad have added value from day one. Because when Chad speaks now, Chad speaks like he's been there forever. You know, I sometimes look at, he sits across the floor from me, across the table, and sometimes I smile when I hear him talking, because given his diplomatic status previously, he has seen things about Barbados from the outside in. Many of us look on the inside out, but he has seen it from both ends, having served in various capacities within the Labour Party and locally, but also internationally now, having a different perspective as to what it is that Barbados is trying to achieve. And I want to say thank you to Minister Humphrey as well for being here. Another homegrown product of St. Michael's Southeast who has just walked in. But these are the things that we are doing. We have made some changes in the cabinet to strengthen what we have existing, to be able to have an uptake so that we have youth, but we also have experience. But as I said before, I hear the rumblings. I hear the noises in various circles. As Prime Minister said a few weeks ago, the Democratic Labour Party has been looking for an equalizer. They have been looking for an equalizer, trying to find things within the Labour Party, trying to pick holes to try to say, look, they're just like us. They're doing the same things that we did when we were in office. They came to office and said they want to stamp out corruption. They wanted integrity in public life. And look at them. They're doing this and they're doing that. I saw a few days ago they picked on Minister Sutherland and the project, Senior Minister with the project at the Hope. Not recognizing that, and I want the people of St. Michael's Southeast to understand this, because under the same said Hope project, it is that project that has been able to deliver to the people of St. Michael's Southeast 40 acres in Lower Burney for development, for housing development for the people of this community and across Barbados. 20 acres of the 40 has been allotted to the people of St. Michael's Southeast, the ones who live in the densely populated areas of these communities, because I keep telling people I have the largest housing area in the country. And this Barbados Labour Party saw it fit to develop a program which not only would start the process of building out housing for low-income persons, but also people who were able to acquire a mortgage, but they made sure that they were able to target the people of St. Michael's Southeast in the plans for the Hope project. When I see these photos appear though in the paper and the band doing the video and all kind of things, I say to myself, wait, this bringing back Constant in my mind. Y'all remember Constant? When the bush was overgrown at Constant, the bush was overgrown at Parish Land, and we went across the country and we saw all of these projects abandoned. Things that this Barbados Labour Party had to come to office and to clean up, to allow, before we could even get to the Hope project, we had to take up money to ensure that those houses could be retrofitted and upgraded for people to be able to have an opportunity to live in a decent house. They don't want to talk about that. But they want to come and pick holes and take pictures and run around with videos to talk about a project that has been stalled, no doubt because we've had different challenges in relation to getting certain materials and various things to get the projects off of the ground. But the intention is not lost on the people who need housing. Because the applications in NHC were what, over 5,000 or so at one point? They're probably even more. There are people who've been on waiting lists in this constituency for more than 40 years and have not been able to get a house. They see all kinds of other people come in and get in houses. They haven't been able to get a house. So when we designate 40 acres to allow people to be able to now have a piece of the rock, to be able to live in affordable housing, it is being done with the people of this country in mind. It isn't being done for Barbados Labour Party people. It is being done to make a better life for all Barbadians. Because we're not picking and choosing who goes in the houses. I've told my people in St. Michael Southeast, the people who have been not only on the waiting list for long, but the ones who are in densely populated households, where when you see what you would think is a one bedroom, you're seeing 15 people coming out of the houses. Those are the people that we are trying to capture and to be able to take out of poverty. And when we speak of the largest housing area, it comes with its own social problems because you are in a dense situation. When you go and you put I tell people, if I give a hamper to a house, I can't just allocate one, I sometimes got to give about 5. And you know why? Because sometimes in a household, you've got about 4 households in one household. This is my reality. This is my reality. The mother don't speak to the children. The grandchildren don't talk to the grandfather. This is my reality. And when I was coming up, it's about 32 years or so since I started to perhaps understand who I was and what I wanted to do in politics. I was 16 years old when I first graced a political platform in Golden Rock. I was 16, yeah. They called me the Lady Philly at the time. I went from Lady Philly to the Lioness. But at that point, I understood as I was growing up, because I used to be running boat here with all of you. Brady would park me by somebody's house. And I had to, socialize with everybody. I grew up in this constituency. This constituency is my family, and my family is this constituency. That will never change. But I understood from a young age the notion of giving back, of being of service to people. I understood it because our house had football boots piled high, the yellow and black football boots piled high in rooms, because children needed to be able to play football because the parents couldn't afford sometimes just a pair of boots. BLP Bradshaw transformed and did that. When it came to the children's parties here at the Wilkie Cumberbatch schools, it was lucky dip after lucky dip. Daddy brought in things from overseas. People donated things to make sure that children who were in most vulnerable positions had an opportunity to understand what a Christmas felt like. I understood what being a patron was because of this man. Because he was the patron for the Pinelands Development Council, now the Pinelands Creative Workshop. He was the patrons for Pinelands Football. He was the patrons for Pineland Basketball. And for every other thing that ever emerged in St. Michael Southeast, he was the patron. Because he would put his hand in his pocket and he would say, all right, I can give you a little something. He would sponsor something. So I saw it from a child what representation was. And I've said many times, I am proud of my legacy. I am proud. My father don't have a lot. He don't have a lot. By the standards of others who are stalwarts and who have been well established in this country. But what he has given to me and what he has done for the people is a life of service to people that any one of the people in here and across this country can call BLP Bradshaw. And in turn, that is what he's done for me, because now I have become not the representative just for St. Michael Southeast, but everybody that's called as well. And you take the cause because you understand that when you step into public life, you are no longer just a representative of that constituency, but you have a national interest. You have a national objective to see the development of a country in the way that you would want and to see that vision become a reality. So I came up seeing what representation was about. And I also understood that Dad couldn't do it on his meager salary at the time either. I understood that in order to make things happen in a constituency, you also have to rely on the businesses in the community. You have to rely on donors across the length and breadth of this country. You got to rely on people in the corporate arena. You got to rely on people outside of Barbados to be able to make your no when and all and small business, it wasn't a sacrifice. What was a sacrifice? For all of the critics that we have out there, ask them what they have done for people. Ask them how they have helped people in this country. Which group have they supported? People like Caswell Franklin talking, the only thing he know about is Snow, his dog. He don't know about nothing else. Snow. Huh? They cannot tell you they are critical of people, but they cannot tell you what they have done. When last have you heard the leader of the Democratic Labour Party tell you that he gave to some cause, that he helped a group of children to get a better education? He asking for money for the Democratic Labour Party, but he ain't telling you what he does on a day-to-day basis to help empower the lives of people. And I say to you that, in the last few weeks, I had a scenario where I felt it necessary to talk to my people this evening and talk to them not about the macro stuff alone, but to talk to them on a one-to-one level, because this is where this has started for me in St. Michael's Southeast. Y'all are the people who have put me in the position that I am in today. You have put me in a position to be able to lead. And I ain't going away nowhere. I came to this constituency, I remember at Parkinson, and I declared my hand when I got for not just fire in my belly, but I took down an entire Democratic Labour Party, and breast cancer could not stop MP Bradshaw. And I did what I had to do, right the way through treatment, serving this country every single day with every breath in my body. I ran a ministry. I didn't back down and say, well, I need a little time. I gotta go. Everybody's saying, Sandy, you need to rest. Yeah, I need to rest. But my meetings went on, even with my bald head and everything, and the chemo and everything. Because I understand service to country and service to people. So when an unfortunate incident happens, where given all that I have done from even before I entered politics, I have been in this thing long. Seeing not just the service, but also doing for people before I was even a politician. I have flown the flag for artists in every corner of the earth, with artists who are Barbadians, artists who are from the region, representing people. Nobody never says Santia carrying nobody money. Because in fact, what Santia did was take people who people often dismiss because they are creatives and lift them up and build them to the point where they can feed their families and they can be iconic individuals in this country. I didn't do that from politics. I did that before I came to politics. I set up a charity after becoming a senator in the House of Assembly. I set up a charity called the Make a Difference Foundation. You would know it, Alex. Because you and Sandra, your mother, were one of the first, you could finish the words because you know it, you've lived it with me. Getting up on a morning and going to the plantation and having soup by the to bring the soup to St. Michael's Sophie's in containers, to go to elderly people's households, to feed them through rain, through sun, through everything, to feed them. These two here, them is my dear ones. They understand what we had to do through the charity to be able to make sure that people breathed a little easier. And when one day I went to Ricky Green in Golden Rock with Victor Ames at the time and said, I feel I need to get a facility in this constituency that would allow for me to help deal with the people in the Golden Rock area because it's too dense and the children need a little extra activities. Ricky Green walked with me and Victor Ames down to the building which is now the Golden Rock Community Resource Center. It was totally barricaded, the galvanized was on the outside. It was actually Hamilton Lashley's old constituency office. And I said to him, this is my vision. We got all of the other facilities in the community, but I need a space where I can mentor and I can bring activities to the children of this community and even to the old people, where there's a safe space, where children can come, they can watch TV, they can get a meal, they can learn all the etiquette in terms of how to lay a table and how to go if they have to go to dine. They can learn programs about personal development in a space that is safe. And Ricky Green, Victor Ames, and myself, along with the Make a Difference Foundation, of which my father and Tony Hoyes are the directors, were the ones who were able to put all the resources together to be able to open that facility. And today, the facility is able to provide breakfast programs for children in this community. We do breakfast 3 days of the week. It didn't happen by accident because the people who have supported me from 2011 and who supported me when I was in entertainment continue to support me because they understand I come to thief nothing. If they give me something, it come into the people of this constituency. They know where their money goes. As I said to y'all earlier, it takes 1,500 hampers, and I counted them when we did the care packages to make sure that you knock on every single door in this constituency. And every year my target has been to increase the numbers because in the Pine, I can tell you for sure, you know everybody got a louver window, right? And you can't go by Miss Brown and don't go by Miss John without somebody seeing you. So you try to make sure as the representative who cares that you got something to give almost everybody. The people in this community know that when I come through, is a truck, is all my helpers, my elves, to make sure that at Christmas in particular. Yes, Sandra, you get more people for me all the time, you're right. You know, because that is how I was raised. It's not about, this position does not make me. And I want to make that clear. When the young man, well, I can't say young, when the gentleman broke into my constituency office, this was somebody that many of y'all know. He worked with us in the campaign. He put up posters. He did a lot to be able to assist us. I even had given him employment at one point on one of the job sites. And regrettably, the gentleman who would have sought to give a donation to St. Michael's Sophie's efforts to be able to make a donation didn't call me and say, Santia, I want to make a donation. Because this gentleman, Mr. Clark, sat in meetings with me from the time I was minister. He was there before, but he sat in meetings with me. And I think in everything that I say to people, I just always talk about the constituency that I represent. I just tell you about the largest housing area. I just tell you about the vulnerability. I tell you about the stressors and the things, the pressures that people are under. And I ask people to help. And I think in everything that our conversations were about, he understood that this wasn't just about the minister trying to build roads in the Scotland district, but the minister also had a heart, and the minister wanted to, has been doing stuff. He's no fool. He lives in the same Barbados that all of y'all do. So he knows the efforts being made in St. Michael's Sophie's to make sure that food is on people's tables. And Mr. Clark decided genuinely he can call up the office, spoke to my constituency assistant, says, I got something to drop off for Santia. She wasn't there. So she said, well, you can leave, you can drop it in through the window. I don't even, up to this point, I don't even have a letterbox on the building. So she dropped, I think I'm probably getting one now. But he dropped it in through the window. I never saw the check that Mr. Clark sent to the constituency office. It was $7,500. A meager sum, because if you do the math for how much every hamper costs, one of my hampers can cost about $150 when I done. So you do the math. If I do 800, 1,000, or 1,500, you do the math. That $7,500 is a drop in the bucket. Okay? In any case, I was grateful for the donation because it would go to anything else that I was doing. But the truth is, I never saw the check. Because by the next morning, after he dropped it, Mr. Holford broke into my office around 11 o'clock. Thank God for my cameras. And broke in and took up the check from the tray before any conversation could take place about this check, what it was for, who it was from, or anything. The police called my constituency assistant and said, what does the minister want to do? Does the minister want to pursue charges? Now, I know there's some of you that would say, man, Sadia get my lock up here. But I had to consider the safety of my staff, my female staff. Because if somebody who has been known to me, who clearly had some other challenges, some health challenges, breaks into an office belonging to me that he has worked at, in a place where he is familiar, because he has spent time there campaign after campaign. And I have female staff who are working in that office. I believe that it was my responsibility to say, press charges. Press charges, because not only hopefully will he get help, but I will also send a message that you can't do wrong things and expect that I can condone it either. And I had to put my staff in a position, especially because they're females, that they're comfortable being in the space. Because can you imagine a scenario where Simone went in the office and butt up on this gentleman? I don't know what would have been the outcome, or if he tried to do it on another occasion. Clearly, he was not thinking straight in taking a check in my name and going to the bank to cash it. And y'all can pick sense from nonsense. But at the end of the day, I took a decision, go along and do what you have to do, because I ain't got nothing to hide. I ain't receive it, so there ain't nothing to hide. Mr. Clark came out, he explained he'd not been working with the Ministry of Public Works since, I think, March of the previous year. In fact, I wasn't even the person who engaged Mr. Clark to work in the ministry. At the time, he'd worked for the ministry many, many years. Because he's a gentleman who I consider like a father figure, because he's in daddy's age bracket. Elderly gentleman, ain't a young fella that tracking me. Well, I understand. Yeah? Just saying. But it was that type of relationship we had where he understood what I was trying to do and he genuinely wanted to help. Now, if I had something to hide, I didn't tell any police to pursue no action. If I had something to hide, I wouldn't have come out from the earliest opportunity before even being asked and said what transpired. Because I ain't got nothing to hide. I remember calling Prime Minister and telling Prime Minister, I want to talk to the nation. I want to talk to them because I got something to say. Because I don't understand this. Because I have never, everybody who knows me knows, I don't talk about what I do. I do. Everybody in this room know me. And know that I do quietly. If I slip in your little $20 or $50, I can do so. All right, put your hand there and I can send it to you. You understand? But I don't talk about what I do. And what this exercise actually showed me is that sometimes, not that you have to talk about what you do, but you also have to let people know what representation is supposed to look like. Because it's not supposed to be every time you do something, there's a photo. It's not supposed to look like every time you do something, you talk about it. Because many of the things that I do, I believe that the Almighty Father is the one who giving me my blessings. It ain't got nothing to do with the people. And my father always tell me, Santia, a good name is rather to be chosen than great riches. So let me tell one straight. No $7,500 can't make Santia Bradshaw no fool. Eh? And if the Democratic Labour Party want to pick on things, they got the wrong lioness. You understand? Because I am not the one. I came up with things. I understand what things are when you have. I also understand what it means to give and to keep giving from your heart and giving to your last. And I want that this episode is a teaching moment for people like Chad and for others and Kirk and all the others, because people said to me, Sandy, but you ain't got a charity. We can set up a charity for you, And I said, but I had a charity. But the man didn't tell me that that's what he was going to do. If he had told me, the correct thing that we do is you have the charity, you say to the person, put the check in the Make a Difference Foundation name. And I will go so far as to say this. I also do something else which people, for the ones who have been beneficiaries of vouchers, right? Because we did vouchers during COVID. I continue to do vouchers all throughout the year. Christmas could come and go. I do vouchers for people all year round. Okay? But one of the things I do, if people say, Santi, I want to give to the constituency, I tell them, I want the money. Don't bring the cash with me. Don't even bring it in a paper bag. What I want you to do, if you want to buy vouchers, you go by Popular and you buy $5,000 in vouchers and you bring the vouchers. And I sit down with the team and we put out the $150 in each envelope and we give people their vouchers. And that is what happens through the Make a Difference Foundation. When people give a donation, they get a receipt. Everything is transparent. I ain't a pretty on the numbers, but Tony Hoyers is the accountant and the businessman, and he does make sure the numbers straight. So there has never been any wrongdoing, any breaching of any legislation. You see these sidewalk lawyers or these people who call themselves lawyers. I don't know how I could breach something that has not been proclaimed. I don't know how I can breach something for which I have never received the item because the check is still down with the police or at the courts. I don't even know where it is because I didn't see it. I want y'all to understand the nastiness of the Democratic Labour Party. But I'm telling you tonight, I am not the one. You can go and you can dig up all you want to do on Sandy Bradshaw. You ain't going to hear she carrying nothing. She involved in nothing. Because a good name is what? To be chosen rather than great riches. My reward came, and I'll tell you straight, my reward came when I took sick and the people of this country rallied around me. Make no mistake about it. My blessings and my purpose was clear when I fell ill and I was stripped of everything. Everything I had accomplished meant nothing because it didn't matter whether you were an attorney. It didn't matter whether you prosecuted in the UK. It didn't matter whether you were the head of pyramid. It didn't matter whether you were a senator, a minister of government. It did not matter. I was Santia Bradshaw, 13th of March, 1976, as I was getting chemo. And that was my humbling moment to understand who I was and what my purpose is in this life. And I want to say to you, the people of St. Michael's Southeast, and those who have ears, we take our politicians to task. But it's not an easy road for the ones who give of their heart and the soul to come into politics. I am fortunate that I lived it through my father. I lived it. I understand. Daddy went through the Pele case, the allegations of murder and all kinds of things. For a man who was close to him in the community dealing with football, Pele Paris, he had to live through that. He lived through the no confidence motion, and I was a little bit older then, and I could tell you about the challenges there. I was at the age of doing my A-levels. People called our house, threatened the house. I in the middle of doing my A-levels here. And I had to go through that with my father in Antigua, going through an operation for hemorrhoids. I've lived it. And I will not allow a stain on my character or anybody to question my own integrity and why I have come to public life. Because I understand when you're in of a certain bracket, what people just do to you. I understand it well. And what my father went through, he has tried to protect me on every opportunity from going through what he has been through. And equally, I understand it as a child as well, that I ain't going to I gonna make a living by doing hard work every single day of my life, 7 days a week, 365 days of the year, because that is what I have been taught, and that is my legacy, and that has been what has been ingrained in me. So I don't mind the noise, because noise, you must make noise when you're trying to get to high office. I understand it. But I will not stand by as any victim of the Democratic Labour Party nonsense. Because if they want things to dig up, because you know they keep saying, oh, the Barbados Labour Party doesn't have to talk about the 10 years that the Democratic Labour Party didn't do anything. We're not supposed to remind anybody of anything. Well, let me tell you, you know, I don't drive a car leased from any entity of which I am the minister. I was never a signatory to anything called the Cahill Agreement. When I want dig up, when I want fires. Huh? All the housing projects that remain stagnant. When people couldn't get housing in this country. Start on those things because you see, I don't want to go back. But I believe sometimes you just got to jerk the memory a little bit to let people know that everybody who know about you ain't dead. You understand? You have to let people know. So it isn't, I love all people. Because the Dems been calling me non-stop, you know. Because the Dems don't like the nonsense going on in the Democratic Labour Party. So understand that the Dems have kept close in contact, trying to figure out if I got the information from Pomeranian Yearwood to try to get rid of his tail. But as I have kept my silence from the time the incident happened in December because I believe, you know, I don't fight like that. You will never hear me on a political platform fighting nasty. I didn't come to public life for that. Sandra, you do it. You do it for me. I got my people who will do it, and Mary. I got my people who will do it. Sit down, Winston. But I won't do it. I won't do it. I will not lower myself to that. But I want you to understand that those who took to the call-in programs trying to defame my character and to discredit my reputation, they have received the pre-action letter for the lawsuit to be dropped in their tail. And I want to make it clear this evening, let them keep talking. Because everyone that talk, the letter gonna come and drop it in the tail. I am not the one. So if they want an equalizer for the Barbados Labour Party, it is not Cynthia Bradshaw. Okay? I want that to be clear because there's too much bad-mindedness in this political arena. If you are going to fight the Barbados Labour Party on its record, I ain't got no problem with that. If we don't do the right thing in the name of the people, even our own people have a right to tell us we're doing nonsense. But what I will not tolerate is the innuendos, the attempts to defame the character of people who are working hard in the name of the people of this country, when they themselves cannot stand on any good footing to say what they are doing. They need to get their house in order. When we were the opposition, we set up a whole, Charlie and the whole team set up a whole way to broadcast the debates, to be able to be on the front foot to make sure that our message got out there. Every time they come with a message is to fire another minister. I've never seen, their message is just fire all the ministers. Fire all the ministers and bring in a shadow cabinet to shadow things that don't exist. I've never seen anything like it. This strategy is flawed. It is flawed. And I will not stand here and say, I will not. And you know what they say, where there's no vision, the people perish. And I want you to understand that, you know, I am also grateful to my leader because my leader has stood by me. Irrespective of what they have said. She let it be known, Prime Minister Motley, once I told her what transpired, said, no problem, I got you.
So when you hear where you pick wrong card, you pick
bad card, correct. You know, and that is leadership. That is leadership to be able to call a spade. But as I told Prime Minister Motley and I told the cabinet when I addressed them as well, the Prime Minister would not have had to ask for my resignation if I did do something wrong. Because I come up understanding individual responsibility and collective responsibility. I understand it. I was a student of politics too, not just Brady. I was a student of politics as well. I understand the line in the sand which is drawn when you do something inappropriate that can discredit not only yourself but also your political party. And she would not have had to ask for my resignation if I felt that there was any wrongdoing on my part. My position remains the same on integrity in public life and the legislation as it did before the campaign in 2018. I have nothing to hide. I ain't got no money stashed away. I ain't got no big bank accounts overseas. I ain't got nothing so. 'Cause I too busy giving away everything to the people that I love and who put me here. And I will do that till the day that I die, or till the people decide in this constituency they don't want me no more. I get too old. That's what I'm saying. It's true. It's true. You see, it is the people who don't understand my relationship with this constituency that will talk. But as I said at the outset, Southeast is my family, and my family is St. Michael's Southeast. It is inseparable. You touch one, you touch all. And so I wanted to share with you the explanation, the dialogue of what transpired. Because at the end of the day, I will not allow people to defame what I have. I come to public life with a good reputation. And I will leave with the reputation intact. And I felt they wanted me to make a statement to Parliament. I said, I am coming to my constituents because they are the people who put me in this position. They are the people who have stood by me. And if the Democratic Labour Party want to take bread out of your mouth, well, I know what you're going to do. I know what you're going to do. But if they want to stop you getting hampers, they want to stop you getting assistance, then I think you need to ask yourself if the Democratic Labour Party is serious about governance. Because you cannot run a constituency on the allowances that you are given. And integrity in public life legislation is obviously necessary to be able to make people think twice, or to put systems in place to be able to funnel funding to be able to assist. You cannot come and discourage people, legitimate donors, from giving. Because people want to give, but everybody does not want to come forward and take a picture and show that they are giving to somebody. There are some people, some of my donors, who want to stay in the background, but they quietly support. Daddy would tell you, my house right now full of blenders. Because people in Miami determined that because of my journey, and because I said that people with breast cancer and living with different ailments and stuff needed a blender that they could puree their foods. I have a donation of about 40 blenders that came in from overseas. And they want to give more. You understand? There are people who want to give, but they have to use sometimes a politician or an entity to be able to funnel the support through. You want blender? No, you don't qualify. Right? We get Pampers, we get adult Pampers for elderly people in the community. And why and how? Because these are the things, sometimes the basic things, that in my interaction with, in particular, the elderly, that makes a difference to families. Pampers ain't cheap. And it's the little things sometimes that, again, 25, 50 can't buy the amount of Pampers that I supply in this constituency on a regular basis and across the country. I donate to the hospital, I donate to the homes, I donate to St. Michael's Southeast, I donate to whoever calls. Once I have them and people send them in, I give them. That is what service is supposed to be about. And for the younger people in the room, I want you to understand, don't be afraid of politics. Don't allow the situation of what you hear about people saying about politicians and stuff to deter you from being involved in active politics. People like Chad, well, you blood, so you had a choice, you know. But for those who want to serve, sometimes these types of things will make you be deterred from participating in politics. The same Democratic Labour Party took a turn in one of their female members a few months ago too. All over social media. The same Democratic Labour Party here. At least I know I am in a good place in this Labour Party that stands by its members. And I therefore say to you, do not be deterred by the comments. Do not be deterred by the lies and the attempts to scandal members of this Barbados Labour Party. Sometimes you only throw stones when you know that there's something good in the house, you know. Your fella does only go knocking on the door if you feel the young lady in the house looking good. So it could be a case that there's a lot going on in this Labour Party and in this government, that they are trying to fish in, they're trying to find something and hope that something sticks. But they can't find what they are looking for. And perhaps it is because the entire party has been working. Y'all will never understand the years that we have all lost by the sacrifice that we have made. I've watched my colleagues turn gray during COVID, 20 or the 24-hour days. I don't know how my Prime Minister does it, because apart from her hectic international schedule, there are still all the responsibilities as Prime Minister for not just one ministry, but you got to be in every ministry. You got to know everything that's going on in the country. You got to take her messages at 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes and the phone calls, because she can't sleep, because her energy and her heart is with the country and with trying to make life better. And you can't make life better if you don't try to get the investment from outside, as Chad spoke about, and if you don't open up opportunities for people. What we as a people need to do, though, is to embrace the opportunities that exist and ask the questions about what is it that we can do to make life better. I know it ain't easy. I know that we still got our challenges in the hospital. We got our issues there, and I've said that I will be relentless in getting things addressed there. It's not my ministry, but I feel it, because having gone through what I did, there is a public out there that believes that anything that go wrong at the hospital, there's call me. I know everybody business, because there's call me. And it's a good place to be, because while I know that we are doing so much to improve and we have all the reserves and we're doing well as a country, the reality is that we still must take care of the people in the country. People must also feel that the reserves are working for them. We can't just say we got money that's sitting down there, but people need employment, or people need the houses fixed, or they need better care at the hospital, and we're not able to make sure that we're able to meet those expectations. And I think we still have genuinely some work to do. You know, the process has started, but there's still some work to be done to make sure that we're able to meet the expectations of the public. On the last thing I want to say, you know, we came to office in 2018, and I think expectations were high about what this administration could achieve. I remember apart from the platforms where I spoke, and I spoke about the corruption and the integrity in public life and the transparency, freedom of information. We talked about all of those things in the context of making life in Barbados better. Because we felt if we got more productivity and we were able to stop people from taking things and doing the wrong things, that we would actually see those improvements. And I think Bajans bought into that. Bajans believed that there was going to be a difference because of the 10 years where only a small section of people actually benefited from the policies of the government. You know, we came in and we did the trust loans. People benefited from the trust loans. We tried to ensure that we created facilities in terms of recreational facilities across the country. Of course, COVID came and it put a halt on a lot of what we could do. So we've had, you know, sometimes you forget the road you have traveled because you need money in your pocket. Your children are working. You want to make sure that you could afford to be able to send them to lessons or to do something. And people forget in their circumstances the road that we've traveled to get to where we are now. And I just want to say to you that the work that we are doing will yield fruit. But we also need to be patient and to appreciate that we are working hard, and we're working long hours to be able to make that transformation, to be able to come back to you to say, this is what we're doing in your name. The Lower Burney project, the environmental impact assessment has been completed. As Minister Sutherland had indicated the last time they were waiting on that. So we should start to see some activity in St. Michael's Southeast very shortly to ease the pressure. Those are things that have taken time. It sounded 2 years, 3 years ago when we first spoke about it, like it was going to happen the next day. Well, it didn't. Roads have to go in. Infrastructure has to go in. Planning has to approve the whole thing. They have to make sure that the environment is suitable for people to be able to move in. So it takes time to get those things, and we must appreciate and understand it. Can it be faster? It will. I will always say we could move a little faster. But the truth is, we are getting to where we committed to the people of this country that we want to get. So as I close this evening, I want to say thank you to all of you for attending, to give a special thanks to my colleagues, Senator Blackman, to Minister Humphrey, to Minister Duguid, to former Senator Shanika Odell, and to all of the Barbados Labour Party family, all of the people who continue to support, in spite of all of the challenges that we may face from time to time, but who continue to be that rock and that anchor, certainly for myself and for my family. And to the critics, Kimar, I just have one song to play for them and to wish you all a very good night. Yes, this is for all the critics, the detractors, and everybody. I've pulled from the inspiration of none other than Lil Rick. But this is my anthem for them. It's not the Lioness anthem, but you can pull up the song that I want them to remember and for y'all to also be mindful of on any occasion when they seek to say anything about your MP, your constituency representative for St. Michael's Southeast. Kimar?
Yup.
Huh? Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I will tell you what it is. Huh? Dirty bad mind.
I don't give up. Don't give up. Them just so run off the mouth and sit down for
Okay.
me business.
I can't hear you.
I don't give up. Don't give up. Take your dirty
I
mind
don't
off
give
of
a.
me. Take your dirty
I
mind
don't
off
give
of
a.
me. The more them
Take
talk,
your dirty
the more
mind
them
off
chat,
of me.
the more Jah bless me. Take your dirty mind off of me. Take your dirty mind off of me. Cause the more them talk and the more them chat, Jah bless me. Bad mind can't stress me. Them don't impress me. Them a run off them mouth and talk like the informer of the century. Pure hate and envy and pretend to be friendly. Them will smile in your face and stab you in the back, so dangerous and deadly. Them bad mind and stupid. I don't know why they do it. Got them nose up in my business, on my name like freaking snitches. Them feisty and nosy and always telling stories, but them don't really know me, so just love me. Them just a lava and pale pa me name. I don't give up. Don't give up. Them just
The party after. All right, before we wrap up, I know at the beginning we paid a moment's silence to two of our stalwarts, Adrian Joseph, known as Joseph, and also to Rosalind Sobers, who just joined us at the head table. Is Kimar Sobers, one of the sons of Rosalind. And I believe Rufan is also in our midst. She's on the outside. Both of these families have been very, very close to my family for as long as I can remember. And the last few months have not been easy. In the midst of everything that I've had to deal with, I've had to deal with the loss of people that I love, like a grandmother, an aunt, a mother, and also as a father. People who looked out for us at every campaign, every meeting. You would have seen Joseph here, and when Rosalind was able, she would have been here as well. And Kimar flew back in for the funeral. The funeral is tomorrow for those of you who can attend at the Nazarene Church. And I want to take this opportunity just to give him the the floor to just say a few words. He's a former president of the St. Michael Southeast branch. The family is die-hard Labour Party, as is Rufai's family. But I want to, again, even in the midst of everything that Kimar and the family are going through, to express condolences on behalf of the entire St. Michael Southeast branch and on behalf of the Barbados Labour Party family, and to again thank you for the service that your families have given to us. And I hand over to Kimar now to just say a few words before we wrap up.
Good afternoon. Well, good evening, St. Michael's Southeast. Pleasure to be with you again. Being here for such a short while, and when my dear MP and friend asked me if I would be willing to say a few words, I most definitely said yes. As we all know, Santia has been amazing to this branch. She's been amazing in her capacity and everything she has been doing. Great support for the party. And one of the things I would like to see as we continue to work through St. Michael's Southeast, building on the shoulders of some of the older persons like my mom that would have been helping to build this branch, you know, and is for us to just remain more active and kind of build like a more of a community. I know many times we look around and we ask in terms of, you know, what is the government really doing for us, right? And sometimes we have to see, you know, the government have some infrastructure and policies in place, but sometimes what can we do for our neighbors at times, right? How can we be better neighbors and help to create that kind of community for us to be there for each other in time of need? And if we can do that, it can definitely build a stronger community, which in turn will build a stronger St. Michael Southeast, which in turn will build a stronger St. Michael, which in turn will build a stronger Barbados. And that is what we need, right? We have our Prime Minister out there who is going above and beyond all over the world doing that stuff on the international stage. We have Santia, who's been doing a great job holding down the fort when she has to act in different capacities. But what we can also do is that we have to remember that for Santia to be our MP, for Santia to be the Deputy Prime Minister, and whatever the future may hold for her, she needs our support. So whenever the time may come, try to build up the branch as much as possible. Try to build up bring out those votes as well for Sunday whenever the day comes. But most importantly, we need to have a strong St. Michael Southeast branch. I'm happy to see the turnout that we have here today. I know it's been a while since I've been here, but let us stay more active in the community. Get out there, talk to folks, talk to them in terms of the good things that has been happening in the country. Sometimes you don't always feel it in your pocket, but at times you can feel it or see it on the national and the international scene. And when you're seeing that, sometimes you may say, you know what? Oh, but the government out there building hotels and whatever, that's not doing anything for the poor man. It's creating jobs at the end of the day, which is good. It's creating construction jobs for those hotels to be built. It's creating jobs for people to get into those hotels at the end of the day when they're finished. And in the end, with the Prime Minister going all over, it's bringing more international attraction to Barbados. So let's see what we can do in our own capacity as individuals to help build our branch, to help build our branch and help support Santia, and obviously bring her home strong in the next election. And I most definitely look forward when I have more time in the different circumstances to speak on other matters, but I know it's been a while, so again, thank you for this opportunity. It was nice to be here with you guys.
Good evening, comrades. It is my task to say thank you, and the protocol starts it first. Madam Deputy Prime Minister, the Honorable Santia Bradshaw, MP and friend, the Honorable Mr. Chad Blackman, Senator and Minister in the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Investment, the Honorable Kirk Humphrey, our ex-Senator Shanika Roberts-Odell, comrades and friends. Mr. Duguid has left, but Dr. Duguid, he has left, but I want to say a heartfelt thank you for being here this evening. This meeting was very encouraging, very inspiring, very informative. And to our guest speaker, thank you for explaining to us in depth what is really happening in our country. We needed to know that. Heartfelt thank you. To our Deputy Prime Minister, our constituency representative, thank you for explaining about the check, because I had to tell a lot of people sit down. I continue to tell them sit down. Because I would say this, the young lady that I know, the young lady that I helped raise, the young lady that I have brought to the floor, her integrity is above and beyond what that guy, that fool, is saying. If he had stayed the course, he would be better off. But he did not, and we don't want him back here either. Stay out there. Get some licks out there. I got more licks for you out there. All right. All right. And to our executive committee for planning this meeting at short notice and bringing out the magnitude of people that are here this evening, I want to say a heartfelt thank you. It will be remiss of me to forget the men's ministry in here, Men's Talk, Fabian Sargent, and the arm of the young socialists that are here to represent Minister Chad Blackman. You might not know, but I know. So don't think that you can hide from me. All right? But thank you. Thank you for coming. And I would hope to see you at our next meeting. There's some eats and drinks outside, but you got to purchase them. It's all funds for us here, you know, for St. Michael Southeast. Remember, we have our charity and we have our people within the constituency that is beyond the charity that we give to. And Santia does a very good job, as she said, silently. Believe it or not, silently. And when you talk to Santia, your business don't get out there. It just stay in there, so nobody don't know. Too much. Too many secrets. Yeah? But it is important for our MP to know our secrets, because then we know we have somebody not only representing, but we have a confidant that we can confide in. Brady, good training. Very good training. So thank you once again. Get home safely. God bless.
This meeting